folks. Hope you're doing well out there. I had a few things I wanted to share with you today. Last weekend, the Baltimore Homer community had our monthly Fire Family Food Fun Day. We had it at our Ancient Oaks Homer Farm in Westminster, Maryland. And it was very nice. It was very nice. Excellent vegan food offerings, good music. We did some line dancing led by Maisha. And we had a poetry session led by Sister K-Love, who's a nationally known poet. All of this on our 27-acre Homer farm in nature, in a farm that's saturated with an atmosphere nurtured by homers, agnihotras, morning and evening. One of the highlights, as I said, was the session led by K-Love. And she did a piece on, a piece of poetry on worthiness that I thought was really significant. I mean, as a therapist, as a person, I'm real clear that all of us have issues with our worth. Whether conscious or unconscious, we have issues about our value. And she did some poetry and led us in a discussion to talk about that. Because we live in a society that has so much programming toward certain mentalities and ways of being, or doing, as I should say, that it's very easy for people to feel bad, to feel inadequate, to feel less than, if they are not intentionally and consciously working to connect with their deeper selves and their state of being. So I wanted to go over a little bit of that today and really talk about it, the difference in being and doing. We live in a very achievement-oriented culture that worships at the altar of accomplishment. You know, we're bombarded daily by messages that push achievement, accomplishment, whether it's accumulation of wealth, credentials, or power, or whatever, as a way to validate yourself, to feel good about yourself, in a constant state of doing. Well, what I'm posing to you is that that's a setup. Yeah, there are things we need to get done, but the issue is how we do that. When we get so focused on accomplishing things, then anything goes, I may shave a little bit off of this way, cheat a little bit this way, or whatever. But I am not necessarily being true to myself. What we're saying is that when we're in a state of being, then we're more consistent with our values, the attitudes and beliefs that we see as optimal. And then we can do a better job of doing whatever we're doing But to do that, it requires that we're not attached to the outcomes. Let me back up for a minute. So it's like this. We are eternal beings. Even the physicists say, ultimately, we are energy. Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just changes form. We spend a short amount of time that we call a lifetime in this density, but this is not the lifetime of our entire sense of being. This is only a moment. We do better when we connect to that infinite, eternal part of us and accept that we are worthy because we are. Not because of what we do, but because we are. We are children of the universe, of the cosmos, of the Most High. And as such, we are worthy. We are worthy. It's not dependent on what we do. It's about who we are. Now, of course, what that implies for us to really feel that, we have to be in touch with that in some regular way in this dimension, in this density, with that larger reality of who we are, as opposed to these minute definitions that comes from the cultures that we associate with. You know, this culture of achievement, a couple thousand years old at most, and you think that's a long time, but you know, the scientists are saying we've been on this planet at least 200,000 years. So a couple thousand years, that's just a brief amount of time. But during that time, this stuff of capitalism, consumerism, industrialization has pushed the dominant culture to being one of achievement. So if you're not achieving in the way that meets the standard or your idea of who's leading it, then you feel bad about yourself. You feel bad about yourself. So at some level, this is about the difference between what you do and who you really are. What you do and who you really are. So when we talk about being is about, again, it's one's values, attitude, beliefs. When you're consistent with them, then you're in touch with yourself, and whatever comes out of your effort is at some level acceptable. Because you realize that, you know, life has its changes and everything may not happen in the moment, but it's going to be what it needs to be. It's going to be what it needs to be. When we are in instead of a state of being, in a state of doing, we're always comparing ourselves and judging ourselves. Whether it's about our grades or our scores in sports or, you know, accumulation of wealth, we're always judging ourselves. And it keeps us on a treadmill where we're always feeling at some level inadequate, because there's never enough. There's never enough. So at some level, we do better. Yes, you make the effort, you have the goal, but when we're not attached to the outcome, because we say, as long as I'm living my principles, long as I'm living my values, long as I'm behaving in the way that I see is optimal, then I'm in my highest state of being. And whatever comes out of there, it's cool. So he said, not my will, the thy will. Because when I'm in a state of being, I am connecting to the larger cosmos and the evolution of the cosmos. So what is required? What's required in that? Well, part of what's required to get out of a state of human doing to a state of human being is acceptance. Acceptance that we're not in control of anything. And the most that we can be in charge of is ourselves. When we do that, we bring positive energy, vibration, we bring positive momentum to any situation that we're in. Not because we're trying to control it, not because we're trying to achieve, but because we are. We are. So the issue is to be the best version of yourself. To be the best version of yourself. And at some level, that's about acceptance. And when we talk about being, we're talking about being in the present moment. Because so much of achievement keeps us, being achievement oriented, keeps us in the past, judging ourselves, regretting, feeling bad or whatever, also known as depression, or keeps us in the future, being driven, always on the treadmill, just anxious, like that. But to be in a state of being means to be in the present. To be in the present means to be accepting of things as they are, and it means to have faith that if you are being the best that you can be, that you will be contributing to the welfare of the larger whole. You will be contributing to the whole. And that gets to the core of this issue of worthiness. Because at some level, all of us want to and need to feel that we are contributing to life, to other beings, to existence. And we all have something to contribute. Sometimes we miss it because, like I say, in schools and in this place and that place, we get judged and assessed so much about how we fit in, that if we're not fitting in the box the way the standard says, we think there's something wrong with us. But what I pose to you, that everybody comes with something to give. What's the saying? God don't make no junk. All of us have something to contribute to the party. And when we stop judging ourselves, stop comparing ourselves, stop shooting on ourselves, then we can just accept that I am worthy because I am. I am worthy because I am a child of the Most High. I am an offspring of the universe. I am part of the unfolding of consciousness, of awareness, of compassion, of love on this planet. So it's about being in the present moment, not being in the anxiety of the future, not being in the depression of the past, but learning to be in the present moment. And part of what's required for that is flexibility. Flexibility. Yes, we all have something to contribute, Stephanie. To me, flexibility is the definition of mental health. Flexibility is about one's ability to adjust, to adapt, to change gears as necessary. As we are still, receive guidance on the inside, be still and know, something says, okay, this is not working, or the situation has changed and I need to do, then the more I can do that, the more I can stay present and contribute. But if I'm saying that this is the way it is and I know it this way, and if you ain't doing this way, it's wrong. If I'm doing that, rigidity is a setup. A tree that will not bend in the wind will break. So, you know, what I knew yesterday may have worked for me yesterday, but it may not be the most adequate thing for today. But if I'm open, if I'm flexible, and I am willing to learn, to grow, then I am present in the moment, receiving what is given, and I can move on like that. And that's an ongoing process. So that thing of being flexible. Now, my experience is in order to really be flexible, again, you have to be grounded in the larger reality, the larger connection to your sense of being. And as such, it requires that all of us at some level have some kind of practice, routine, behaviors that help us to stay grounded. Whether that's through prayer, meditation, or doing affirmations, or journaling, or whatever. But some way to help us to stay in touch with the deeper parts of our self, our sense of being, and the larger universe. And one of the things that I think it helps with that is creativity. From my way of seeing it, all of us have a natural way of being creative that is for us. Whether it's singing, dancing, or writing, or painting, or gardening, whatever. Everybody has something. And when I'm talking about creativity, I'm not talking about performing. Some of the most creative expressions of singing may happen in the shower, or they may happen in the car when you're by yourself, whatever. But we all have a need to express what's inside of us. Sometimes that's beyond words. So from my way of saying it, we all have a natural creative vehicle that helps us to be more grounded in our state of being, like that. And the more we use that, the more we nurture ourselves. Because that's another piece of it. In order for us to really be in a state of being, we have to learn to nurture ourselves, to feed ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. When we learn to feed ourselves, whether it's through affirmation or positive company or working out, when we learn to feed ourselves, we cleanse ourselves of what might be challenging emotions or thoughts that can actually get stuck in our bodies, let alone in our minds, and we can more easily release them and then be in our more flexible state. So we all need some kind of program, ritual, habits that help us to, on a daily basis, to go inside, to ground, to cleanse, and to be in touch with our sense of being, who we really are. Another piece that helps in that nurturing process is, well, two pieces. One is humor. We are in a higher state of being when we laugh in a genuine way, not laughing at, laughing with, you know, when we're experiencing something from a different perspective and we find some humor in it. That helps us to ground, to cleanse, to connect also. So just laughter, humor, being lighter in general can be real healthy. And of course, let's see, laughter is good for the soul. Yes, yes, yes. And when we can laugh at ourselves, that's really a good one. To me, that's a sign of maturity when we don't take ourselves so seriously. Mhm. Or the rest of the world. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of it, seems unhealthy and undesirable and whatever, But this is just a period of time. This is just a changeover, you know. It's not sustainable. Our job is to be in touch with our deeper nature, be the best version of ourselves, so we are living in our highest frequency, and then we are supporting the higher frequency for the larger community when we are there. Mhm. And that happens with what we think, how we process our emotions, as well as what we do. Because whatever we put out comes back to us. And so if we're putting out positive thoughts, if we're putting out support, if we're putting out love, that's coming back to us. But if we get caught up in society's negativity and complaining and fear mongering, we're inviting that also. So the trick is to make a conscious decision about what we're going to feed ourselves, to be intentional about what we put in our space and how we respond to things. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and ultimately, it's about giving ourselves self-love. We are worthy because we are. We are worthy because we are. We are children of the divine. We are eternal beings. We are part of the infinite cosmos. Mhm. So our value is not dependent on what we do or not do. Our value is because we are. So I am life. I am love. I am light. I am growing. I am worthy. I am healing. I am divine. And I am because we are. Hope you found something you can take from this to con- continue your journey forward. Blessings to you all, and be back at you soon. Peace and blessings.